All right, Nick, let's talk about South Carolina Gamecocks. Gamecocks really, I think, doing a lot of good things already in the offseason. They're making some really strong moves. They lost a lot of guys, but they're bringing guys back in. I think this is a smart strategy, specifically by where and how Shane Beamer has brought players into this team. We'll get to that in just a minute, but before that, I'm Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, Nick, as I alluded to, South Carolina bringing in some good talent to replace some old talent, especially through the transfer portal. A lot of great additions in that aspect. Let's get into the article and we can talk more about it on the other side. This, of course, from over on the state newspaper says South Carolina has taken another former SEC player out of the transfer portal. Alabama transfer linebacker Justin Okronkwo signed with South Carolina, joining Florida State linebacker Sean Murphy as the second transfer linebacker to commit to the Gamecocks this offseason. Okronkwo and Murphy will join a wide-open South Carolina linebacker room, both with a chance to start immediately. The Gamecocks lost both of its starting linebackers. Secondly, the Gamecocks signed their sixth defensive transfer, inking Bowling Green State transfer defensive tackle Devontae Miles. He's the second transfer defensive tackle to commit to the Gamecocks this cycle, joining Texas A&M transfer Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy. That player will have a chance to start immediately with the departure of South Carolina's top three defensive tackles, TJ Sanders, Tonka Hemingway, and Alex Huntley from 2024. Again, this is from the state newspaper. Nick, I think this is a really smart move by South Carolina. Just when they lose guys, they're doing twofold through recruiting and through the transfer portal to help fill those holes. Really smart move by South Carolina. Curious what your thoughts are on this one. But before we get there, South Carolina fans, in the comment section below, let us know what your thoughts are on this team. Are there any other holes or any other things that you think need to be filled on this roster? Is there a part that you think Shane Beamer can pay attention to a little bit better? Or do you think it's good as is? Let us know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. But nonetheless, Nick, what do you think about this latest for South Carolina?
Again, smart strategy from Shane Beamer. In the modern era of college football, today's day and age, the reality is NIL transfer portal moves have become analogous to the NFL's free agency. And teams that are smart, teams that are trying to build the right way in college football, treat it as such, right? If you look at the National Football League, what teams generally do is they use the draft for medium and long-term development, unless it's like a top 10 pick, a playmaker, day one starter kind of thing. But most of the time, the draft is okay, medium to long-term development, and we use free agency to address short-term needs, right? This is sort of like, hey, we need a depth piece at this position, or we need a starting corner. We can draft a guy, but we don't know how good he's going to be because he's obviously going to be a rookie. Let's get a known proven commodity or something we know more about in free agency. That's how National Football League teams work. The college football world has shifted to that model with the NIL transfer portal thing going on. So smart teams, and what Shane Beamer's doing here is very smart, is saying, okay, we lost a lot of guys on the defense front seven. We need to go out and address these with known commodities, whether they've played a lot and been starters elsewhere, or have just been involved in a college football program for a couple of years. Because it becomes really hard if you got 18-year-old kids coming out of high school, even if they're great recruits and great prospects. I'd rather take a guy if you need an immediate day one starter, right? Not like October, November, December, but September kickoff first game. I'd rather take a guy that spent 2 years going to class, being in a college weight room, knows what it's like to play college football, especially at a big time program, than throwing some 18-year-old kid in there and ask him to juggle, hey, you're on your own for the first time. You got to go to class. You got to get some kind of good grades. You got to hit the weight room, got to hit the film room, got to go through all this stuff, right? I'd rather take a guy that's been there before, at least until the freshman gets brought up to speed. That's what smart programs do. You can use freshmen as you can as they fit into the scheme, but don't throw it all on them from the onset. Use the transfer portal to bring in veterans to fill those immediate needs. That's what Shane Beamer is doing here. And I know at the linebacker position, everyone's really high on Johnson, this young kid. And look, I think he has a really bright future in front of him. But the reality is, we haven't seen a lot of him yet. We don't know exactly how good he's going to be. Are you willing to mortgage a potential playoff team, right? That's what the Gamecocks are. Believe it or not, a lot of people are sleeping on them, but they got a really good chance to sneak in. I don't even know if they'll sneak in. Heck, they could win the SEC. Who knows? And make a playoff run next season. Are you willing to risk that by playing some freshmen, some inexperienced guys that haven't played a lot of SEC football, and maybe lose a couple winnable games, finish 8-4, and miss the playoffs? Is that what you're willing to risk? No, I don't think it's worth it. Use the transfer portal. Bring in guys that have been in major programs, guys that have been there before, guys that have gone through a college football season, guys that have, been through weight rooms, been through fall practice, been through winter workouts, been through summer practice and training camp a couple times. Bringing in veterans always helps a team. People always talk about needing to win in the recruiting game, and it's absolutely vital for the medium and long-term healthier program. No argument there. But if you've got short-term issues, the best and clearly most effective way to address them is through the transfer portal. Carolina has those issues in the front seven, and Beamer, to his credit, has done a great job using the portal to bring immediate relief.
Yeah, Nick, I agree with that completely because you look at what Beamer has done here. Beamer's done a lot of good things for South Carolina early on. Like you said, this is a team that is a contender now. They look very, very strong. But through recruiting early on, they did some really good stuff in this 2025 class. They brought in 26 new freshmen through this recruiting class in 2025. They dominated the state of South Carolina. 12 guys out of the state of South Carolina in this class. They also brought in, like you said, young guys, a bunch of shots at the defensive line position, 8 defensive linemen in this class. They knew they were going to lose a lot of guys on the defensive line. What do? They load up on the D line. They take tons of shots at the defensive line with 8 guys. They also bring in 2 more linebackers. But it's good to double dip in the transfer portal, like you said, and bring in the known quantities, bring in that talent that you have. We've seen this guy play for at a college level. We've seen this guy, in a case of some of the linebackers, play at an SEC level. We've seen these guys play against the opponents we're going to play day in and day out, so we know what's going to happen there. Maybe 3 of these 8 defensive linemen we bring in actually work out, pan out, become backup or starters on this roster. Not all of them are going to pan out. They're just not all going to do good. So we need to make some guys come in here through the transfer portal and help settle the ship, help keeping things go in the right directions. And to that extent, when you bring in a lot of these young guys like this, it's helpful if you have older veteran players on your team already to show them the ropes, to help them through things going on. And when you lose that much veteran presence, they've lost all of the leaders in that defensive line room, especially in the linebacker room as well. You need to have some guys that come in here and supplement that leadership, supplement that ability to help these new guys come in. They don't know what a practice is like you said. They don't know what, playing, college level football is like. You have to have someone come in and help hold their hand, guide them through it at first. So I think overall, really good strategy by Shane Beamer and co. Get the veteran presence in there, help lead these young guys that they brought in as well. I think it's going to be a good year for South Carolina in 2025.